on dry Arabia.
Well, if we go by history, Malian should have an advantage. Africa was notably more dry than China. There you go. I know my history, guys. Put your hands up in chat if you knew where Malians existed. So, opening wise, I'm just looking at these spawns, and the first thing I'm noticing is we got what I call the miracle spawn, because this is actually the first time, not just in this patch, but on the last one in like multiple weeks, I've seen the neutral trade post spawn in the faraway corner.
Yeah. It's really not that often that we see this. Usually they're positioned more in between um, each corner, and usually it's nearer towards your base.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if this is necessarily an advantage. I mean, they're very far away from your town center, but yeah, I mean, again, this may favor LucifroN here, going for some trade.
Especially, well, the rough part for him is he wishes he had Poppypaw's side, because one thing that can usually happen in Dry Arabia, and it's why Mongol Silver Tree build felt so good on this map, is you get the natural defense barriers, right? These wood lines. All right, so unless LucifroN wants to go for the left corner, which he could, he's not going to have as many natural barriers compared to like if Poppypaw was the trader in this game. Obviously, he's not going to be. He's Chinese. He's not insane. There's no way a Chinese player willingly does trade in the first like 40 minutes of a game. Maybe longer.
I'm wondering if Poppypaw's got a pretty decent second TC position on the eastern, no, the western deer, in between the three wood lines. Could be a pretty nice position.
Yeah, and then on the other side, like Lucy has these backside deer spawns that are pretty beneficial, right? It also plays towards his playstyle of like dropping a second TC. Obviously, not something we're seeing often from the Malians, but if he did want to do it, I've watched a lot of LucifroN games, and I can tell you one of his signature moves is to TC the edge of the map on a resource. And for that, these deer positions are actually perfect.
And it is going to be the Saharan Trade Network coming through from LucifroN there. 4 villagers on that landmark, positioned quite near the edge of the map.
But no one needs to maul today, because notice the Saharan Trade Network has not been built right next to the gold vein. It's a big change that a lot of players have actually started doing, because it feels like, just last month, everyone was still dropping that trade network right on the gold vein. Do you ever like get annoyed by how much easier China can read you in the other game than you can them? The scout vision.
Yeah. I feel like Tang Dynasty scouts are so nice to have. I mean, it feels like having 2 scouts in one.
Yeah, and it always feels like you're behind in sheep, right? Because they should logically be able to spot them much quicker than you, so they should be a bit more optimal in their pathing compared to any other civ.
Yeah. Are people... Have a look at this. Going to be moving a villager out.
Outpost, yeah.
Yeah. Looking to outpost or wall up that market.
Yeah, everyone was getting ready to yell something else, and then they realized it's the wrong brother to yell that out. This guy's not going to be doing any trading.
The question is, can LucifroN still use the western side market? I don't think it's necessarily something he will want to do, but I mean, if he manages to get up some traders and it somehow gets denied to the east, then the west is always a nice position as well. He's got a better wood line to wall up, but it's obviously closer to Poppypaw's base.
That's what I like, is like half of it is already protected. And I think if you're LucifroN, if you want to go for eco benefits, leaning left side is good because all the deer are back there. And so if you ever need to go for that food source, boom. Realistically, if you do go for trade, you shouldn't need deer, right? Because you just spawn cattle. And beef is good. We as Brits can always agree on that. But the interesting thing is how often we're now seeing this out in the Malians is the stable opening and feudal age. You can see a lot of experimentations going on compared to the old Farimba Rush build. And a lot of players seem to be coming out with a similar conclusion so far.
Yeah, I wonder if we'll see LucifroN go into warrior scouts. I mean, we've seen Malians 3 times today, and 2 of those times they've gone into warrior scouts.
So what was the build like? Because the build we saw from Vortex, he built one sofa, had one warrior scout because there's 50 resources to upgrade, it's worth it. And then
Yeah.
he kind of pivoted, right? He had to go into infantry to protect trade, and then he came back for more sofas. And the reason I'm referencing Vortex's build is not because I haven't had enough time to watch all the other Marlian players. That is one of the reasons. The other reason is that LucifroN and Vortex regularly scrim together. Like, if it's not obvious, they tend to have a lot of spare time for each other, being bros and whatnot. So we might just see kind of a copy and paste of a similar build to what we saw between Beastie and Vortex.
Ooh, a villager gets picked off there for LucifroN. PuppyPaw going for the Barbican on that neutral market site. Interesting.
Surprising.
So this kind of... Yeah, but LucifroN doesn't really have an answer to this apart from start to trade with the western site. Because it's going to take a long time for him to try and take out that Barbican.
I like it. I like it from PuppyPaw because he didn't invest many villages, right? I think he's saying out 2 to build up that Barbican, which is optimal. Like, we've seen a lot of builds where the Chinese will just build both their landmarks with like 1 villager, right? So everyone else is just always gathering. So it works out kind of okay for him. To that point in like the left trade point, it is definitely closer to PuppyPaw's base, and he is now pushing spears. But LucifroN, wait, did he cancel the...
Yeah, seems
Okay.
like he has.
So that has very small, but I'm going to nitpick at ramifications. Because of the Marlian bug with cancelling buildings, if he does want to go back for trade, like, he now can't push it in the absolute corner, right? So, like, he'll get slightly less. And then if he cancels it again...
Yeah. I don't know, does that bug happen every time? Or is it just sometimes?
I thought it was every time.
If it is, then that is definitely unfortunate for LucifroN.
I'll have to go test it, like, myself, but I've noticed a lot of players reporting it, so... Probably is
Yeah.
constant. Uh-oh. PuppyPaw with a small smile on his face right now, because LucifroN has gone for a very aggressive gathering point here. There was safer deer than this, and I don't know if LucifroN scouted that. Like, if we can check his vision, he either A, made this play because he thought that his opponent would go to the close deer, which is kind of naive, or B, he just didn't see the other deer. Because the reason I say it's naive is, like, you're playing against Tang Dynasty. So, like, they should see you. They should always see you when they scout the backside.
Yeah, it's interesting that LucifroN goes out there. He's not even gathering any stone for a second town center. So, yes, an interesting choice going out for the further deer.
Yeah.
But maybe he's expecting not a lot of pressure to come in at this early stage of the game, and when that pressure does come in, he can always fall back to the closer deer.
He does at least have an archer out there, such a minimize. It's just kind of awkward because, like, you know your opponent has gone like to Song Dynasty, but he could have scouted this much earlier before Song came out. And even then, it just feels like, if you look at that backside that we're looking at now, it's very difficult to run through here with a scout and not always see the deer.
PuppyPaw is going to be going for that second town center on that deer patch that we did speculate earlier on. But LucifroN going to be aging up now with the Farimba garrison.
He's fast on this as well. Realizes that the PuppyPaw was going for greed because he saw him in the stone. Second archer will ensure he'll keep his little defenders alive, so deer will keep being collected. And this is important because Lucy, with this many people on deer, he can start to layer in a few sofas as well. So it doesn't just become this one-dimensional infantry push.
Now, I wonder if we'll see LucifroN look to add in any Muto Fadi, because this used to be the play with the Marlians. You know, fast castles and mass Muto Fadi. But with the changes to them, I don't think that'll be the case anymore. I mean, PuppyPaw doesn't have any heavily armored units out for the time being. So Muto Fadi really aren't going to be doing a lot here. I reckon it could be an archer play with poisoned arrows, possibly.
Quite possibly. Like, javelin throwers aren't bad because you can kind of, if you check on PuppyPaw's second TC, it's next to a stealth forest. So you can kind of like poke and go back in the forest. Because remember, like, you know, secondary TCs don't see into stealth forests. And just look how close that is. Like, you can legit hull javelins before you're even revealed. I really like this little innovation from Lucy and Vortex. The one scout upgraded with the sofa. it's pretty cool early game manipulation because of the buff to the healing that we mentioned earlier today. Like, it just lets you keep using this Warrior Scout as a tank, and then the Sofa annihilates the Spearman in small quantities.
Astronomical Clock Tower coming through for PuppyPaw. Following up LucifroN, not too far behind.
Yeah, PuppyPaw's getting baited in
what
these early fights, right? Like, I think Lucy's trading better right now, and it just kind of forces PuppyPaw to probably invest in a few extra crap tier units.
Villagers also getting idled off that berry patch. Donzo also coming out from LucifroN.
Interesting. Well, he sees Horsemen, right? So maybe just, like, okay, natural transition will be Lancers. He knows that the tech up's coming. It's at the front of the base. So that will give him answers. I think he's going for a second layer of Donzos. It's not the worst idea considering your opponent can only push stable units or Rax units. Like, he's got the archers now coming at the backside. But the cool thing about Donzos is they're hybrid, right? Like, they have the javelins they can hurl. So the goal with Donzos in a way is just to kind of punish your opponent if he doesn't commit.
PuppyPaw's already taking quite a substantial lead when it comes to that economic count. Almost picking off the Imperial official right there. Might actually, yeah, he picks off one there.
This is a decent unit to dive with, by the way. Like, the hand cannon slits are always going to be annoying, but you see how pathetic the arrow fire is on a ranged unit. Please go for that stealth forest, though. It's just, I think actually he can't now. I think the deer on the north side got cleaned up, so he... Oh no, they're still there. Like, he's begging to be thrown, like, hurled full of javelins, right? Like, just give him a little bit of punishment.
Yeah, those javelin throwers are surprisingly tanky underneath that town center fire.
They're tanky and they hit hard, right? Like, if we click on one of the units, you'll see the base damage is actually quite high. It's why we usually just see javelin throwers. You know, when you get enough of them, they just annihilate knights chasing them. It's actually hilarious.
They are an expensive unit, though.
Yes, that's the trade-off. 120 resources. Now you only save 12 with the Frimba, because they didn't have the discount. But it is only gold, right? And I say that as if that's not a valuable thing. I'm sorry, I'm just not Schmeagol. I'm not that into gold things. But, you know, you are playing the Marlians. Even without trade, you've got the pit mines.
Yeah, LucifroN also starting to bring back some relics now as well. Gonna help him out there.
And adding the LucifroN
doing a very good job right now, just sort of pinning PuppyPaw to his base. He's got a nest of bees on the way. He needs to be careful that that doesn't just get dived by the Donzo.
I think it's more about the Musafadi that he's now building. They're going to be the anti-siege. We've seen just how effective they can be at that. He doesn't want to really stretch his food fin onto massing sofas. Maybe just a few Warrior Scouts could work, right? Because they get the bonus damage against siege if I recall correctly. One thing I can't remember, maybe you can recall, is like, do the secondary TCs have scouting vision in that they reveal Musafadi stealth? I don't think they do, right?
I don't think so, no. I believe it's just towers, your main town center, and scouts.
That's pretty dangerous then for PuppyPaw, because he's going to have a lot of villages either like out on the additional like lines or even on his wood line. Like 5 Musafadi, even with their nerfs, should not be understated. Their damage is pretty vile. Repair force.
This Nesta B though, getting lots of damage off.
Javelins are going to snipe out the villages. I like this little play here from LucifroN. You know, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. If life gives you melons, you know you're dyslexic. And that is going to be quite a few villagers dying just to keep the Nesta Bees alive, and they can't even achieve that.
Yeah, and these Musafadi warriors with their recent buffs to dealing with heavy units means these Palace Guard just get completely wiped up.
I'm very worried about PuppyPaw now. Like, he's still got a good eco lead, but these Musafadi now showing up. Love that he's built the outpost at least, but these get torched down easily. He hasn't upgraded them. With his outpost gone, honestly, you're going to feel like you're swimming in shark-infested waters here.
Yeah, what's happened to PuppyPaw's units? I mean, he's at 1 unit at the moment, which is a singular spearman. Yeah, he has got a an STB out now as well, but
he's got no
where's
food.
The mass?
He's making a farm transition at the back, I think. That's why, yeah. Oh, this is the worst possible timing for PuppyPaw, and I think LucifroN's going to sniff it out, because he's now asking the same question you just did. Where the hell is his army?
Nestaby is able to get off some nice shots, though.
One
But
shot.
unfortunately, it's nothing. Yeah, nothing to protect it though. It's instantly get taken out.
Musafati just sound like they
Villagers.
clean the dishes sometimes, don't they? The little clinks, like they're just putting ceramics next to each other. It's kind of appropriate because right now they're cleaning house in this situation. Speaking of which, a lot of houses and outposts suddenly, which are going to be disrupted. Oh lord.
So many villagers going idle right there. He tried to get up some outposts in time, but not going to be enough. And we just see the Musafati just cleaning up villagers. LucifroN catching up again when it comes to that economic lead.
Okay, I'm going to bring my complaint back. You saw that villager, right? He was trapped, and then he randomly, like he's covered in butter, wiggled his way out. That's my problem with villagers right there. There's plenty of them for me to have a problem with. Luckily for PuppyPaw, he's at least keeping the Villy difference, or 10 plus, but LucifroN's only getting stronger, and PuppyPaw, this is his only answer. More spears.
Yeah, LucifroN now grabbing Iron Undermesh. Going to make it even easier for him to sit underneath PuppyPaw's town centers. He's also got some sofas in there now as well. More villagers going to get taken out.
Kind of ironic because so far in this game, all that PuppyPaw's been able to do is sit like a good little puppy. Unable to really do much else. It wasn't houses, my mistake. It was actually 3 outposts. And that still doesn't feel like it's enough.
Yeah, just the idle time that LucifroN's causing here is absolutely huge.
The javelins, I mean, they're sniping out the Imperial officials, they're sniping out villagers, sofas reign supreme. He's found the farms on the backside as well. If he comes around the other side of the base, those farms aren't actually protected by outposts. And that's the only way that PuppyPaw is actually getting food right now.
I believe he's on the berries on the east side.
Oh, true. Those aren't going to last long, though. I think he's been out there a
No.
while, right? So maybe like 3 patches gone. More than 3.
Yeah. Well, this is going to be... that's going to be tough for PuppyPaw.
I'm just exploring the options. You know, I'm going to do my best Doctor Strange moment. I see one possible way out. One way that we win PuppyPaw. It's not in this game. It's somewhere else. Like this is looking pretty chalked at this stage.
Yeah. More sofa, more Musafati, and some javelin throwers as well. And still, all of
my God,
PuppyPaw's
that hurts
eco.
That hurts me so much. If we just stare at the farms, all the Chinese enthusiasts are slowly going to lose like any hopes of this game coming out of as a win for the Chinese. And he's got the sacred sites now.
3 sacred sites, 4 relics. And with that, GG does get called.
Well, Chinese can do many things. They can pull off many miracles. They can just, I don't know, throw more corpses than they got guns at the situations. But eventually, you might run out of firepower, just like PuppyPaw did. Marlians looking pretty damn effective despite their nerfs.
Yeah, have a look at that villager count there.
Slow and steady wins the race, says LucifroN. PuppyPaw, on the other hand, is like, I've reached the top of the hill. There's nothing else to climb here. Do we just plant a flag here? Man. I don't know if I feel good or bad that like the Malian Zerg is still kind of alive. Like, it's harder to achieve now. And in fairness, there's a lot of kind of points around like the greed of PuppyPaw and what he done with his build as to why this worked so well. But you know, despite how disgusting we can all agree like the Frimber Rush was, there was a really big concern that the Malians had nothing now, right? They were just that EastEnders memes, like, I got nothing left. Well, luckily, it seems like Lucy and Vortex especially have been hard at work, theory crafting ways it can still work, and they're coming out with some solutions.